that, we're going to jump right in and introduce the two crews that we have. And we're going to start with the Okeanos Explorer and let you introduce yourselves. Please tell us a little bit about your experience and also what you're doing out there.
Sure. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Brian Kennedy. I'm the expedition coordinator on the Okeanos Explorer right now for our current cruise, which is coming down from Rhode Island and heading into Baltimore. We spent the last 7 days sailing down the East Coast. We've done 3 ROV dives. We're going to spend the next week in Baltimore, and then we're going to head back out for a 3-week cruise looking at the Mid-Atlantic canyons and the New England seamounts. With me is one of our science leads, Jamie Austin.
Hi, everyone. Jamie Austin here. I'm a marine geologist. This is my 3rd expedition on the Okeanos Explorer. I've been on Nautilus 3 times, and my science co-lead out here is Jesse Ossabel for this expedition. Jesse, many of you know, is the architect of the census. As Brian said, we did 3 submarine canyon dives this week. Had great weather, saw a lot, and it's a continuation of a multi-year expedition that the Okeanos has been involved in to understand the biodiversity and try to get a handle on sustainability in one of the largest geologic provinces off the east coast of the United States.
So we know that you're going to be visiting us in Baltimore, as you mentioned, and we are really excited to see the ship and see all of your cool gadgets and all of the technology that you have. Can you tell us a bit about the exploration that you just wrapped up, that you just finished, and why was it significant? What surprised you? Tell us a bit about it.
Well, as I said, we did 3 dives this week. It's a short expedition. We dove in 3 canyons: Linden, Cole, Washington, and Norfolk. There are 3 of the bigger canyons called the Mid-Atlantic. I mentioned earlier, this is part of a long series of expeditions that Okeanos is doing to study this vast geologic province, this series of canyons that very much like the big canyons you see on land that characterize what we call the continental slope off the eastern U.S. We were really surprised this time, and I was involved with Amanda and Martha Nijinsky when they ran an expedition on the Okeanos in 2013 by the amount of life we saw in the water column and on the seafloor in all 3 canyons. Spectacular. A lot of squid, a lot of fish. We saw krill, so much krill around the lights of the Deep Discoverer ROV that at times it impeded the illumination of our seafloor visibility. So really spectacular. We also saw some nice geology, but the biology was the centerpiece and usually is very, very exciting.
That's great, and I know you're not only looking at natural history and marine biology, as you were saying. Can you tell us about the other kinds of things you're looking for? You mentioned geological structures. What are the different areas of science that you dabble in?
Well, as I said, I'm a geologist, and I'm out here. Generally, the Okeanos Explorer sails a geoscientist lead and a biology lead so that we can interact both with the pilots out here in person and with the vast array of expertise we've got through teleconference and through the internet on the beach. You simply couldn't do it out here without what we're doing right now, being connected on the web. These canyons are old. Some of them are tens of millions of years old. The east coast of the United States is about 200 million years old, and it's hard for people to understand that. A million years is about 10,000 human lifetimes. That gives you an idea of how long these canyons have been around. Some of them are geologically quite complex. They're modulated by all of the geologic provinces we know about, by earthquakes, by faults, and by all of the processes of ocean-land interaction that you associate with canyons on land, mostly the actions of water. And so these canyons are very old, but they're also harbors for life, amazing harbors for life. And it's because all of the stakeholders of NOAA are interested in these harbors of life that we're out here doing this work.
And I think that we're really surprised to see that sometimes when we see those live streams and the videos. As you said, so many krill, you couldn't hardly even illuminate what you were trying to see. You know, these aren't deserts. They are full of life, and it's important for us to understand how they interact with each other so that we can be responsible in our actions and also know when things aren't quite right. So we appreciate that. And we also know the Nautilus is doing similar work. Tell us a little bit about your work. I know that you're doing similar things but near the Caribbean. And please also introduce yourselves. Tell us a little bit about your experience.
Well, hi everyone. I'm Amanda Demopoulos from the U.S. Geological Survey. I'm a marine ecologist, and I specifically work on benthic ecology. These are animals that live on the seafloor and their relationship to their environment. So the expedition that I'm out here on with my co-chief scientist, Jason Chater, we're exploring undersea mountains, seamounts within the Eastern Caribbean to better understand the diversity, ecology, and the geological origin of the seamounts that we're exploring out here. The main mission for the expeditions for the Nautilus this year includes understanding unexplored regions in the Caribbean, and our component is to really focus on the undersea mountains and their features, the geomorphology, and the animals that live within the area. I'll let Jason introduce himself.
Thank you. My name Jason Chater. I'm a marine geologist with the U.S. Geological Survey. I primarily work in submarine geohazards, sediment transport processes in the deep sea, looking at earthquakes, landslides, tsunamis. And I'm out here. We've been working in this part of the Caribbean now, our office in Woods Hole, for over 10 years. Trying to understand more about the geohazards that this complex plate boundary has, and this mission we're on right now is continuing a lot of that work with a bit of extra basic exploration thrown in. This is an area we're working in right now. Some parts hadn't even been mapped previously, so we're looking at some very new features out here. So it's very exciting.
Well, I have to say I was just watching one of your live dives about an hour ago, and I know that you're going to be doing another live dive later today, so people can follow you on Nautilus Live and see what I saw. But what I really appreciated was when you were going for a sample, and you were out there looking at a big rock, I think it was about 20 meters high, and all of a sudden a big, beautiful grouper swam by. And whatever happens, that's something to look out and explore. Can you tell us how that goes when you have one goal in mind, but then maybe something else completely surprises you?
Yes, we can take that example as a very good one. There's a number of in the van all working to do a whole range of different jobs, the pilots and the scientists and the video engineers and educators. And that's a great example of everyone having great situational awareness and keeping their eyes open for the unexpected. And yes, I think we were going after a rock, which is obviously what I was trying to do. But something like the grouper coming in is you have to take the opportunity to get a look at it, because they don't tend to hang around as much as the rocks do. So we got back to the rocks, and we just had a little detour. But that's the interdisciplinary nature of what we're doing. Is we're all trying to work together to meet the goals that we have, and it takes a while to get into that groove, but once you're there, it's very rewarding.
I think it's been an incredible experience actually having the opportunity to work with the scientists who are on the shore side while we're out here participating and leading this expedition. I mean, Jason and I are co-chiefs on this investigation, but ultimately we have a number of scientists who are part of this program, and we have many objectives to attempt to accomplish. So having their participation from the shore enables us to ensure that we can try to at least balance all of those different objectives. In addition, we also had a lot of shoreside participants. I would call them armchair oceanographers, yep, maybe. And some of them made some observations in the Nautilus chat log that we hadn't made. So they've been giving us some really great questions, some insights, and good opportunities to discuss marine life and the ecosystems that we're exploring in ways that maybe we hadn't even thought about talking about. So that's been a fantastic experience for me in particular.
Well, and I think it also speaks to that sense of adventure and really awe-inspiring exploration. These are truly things that have not been seen before and are so important for us to capture so that we can better understand our planet. And I see that kid-like enthusiasm when something swims by the camera. So I appreciate that. And for all the kids and the teachers and the parents watching, for those of us who've always been curious, you never know, you might end up on one of these research vessels doing this. We do actually have some questions from some of those armchair scientists and people who are watching. So I'm going to toss this first one to Okeanos. The question is, actually it's for both of you, can you tell us the general difference between what has been seen in the Caribbean on the Nautilus and the Atlantic on the Okeanos? We'll start with the Okeanos team.
Well, we're looking at two very different ocean basins, and we're looking at two different sets of geologic phenomenon. So the Okeanos has been focusing on submarine canyons, which are draining a continent at the edge of a vast continental shelf off the eastern U.S. The Nautilus has been looking at seamounts and ridges between islands in the Caribbean. So different water masses, different life, different corals, and different geologic frameworks. Complementary because the oceans work as a vast interconnected network. We call it plate tectonics, but believe me, the great thing about exploration of the seafloor is that there's a new surprise around every corner, and as we map the seafloor and then use those maps to put our ROVs down, and remember those ROVs can cover very, very small areas of the maps, the seafloor maps we make, we're always surprised. But right now, Nautilus and Okeanos are doing complementary but very different things. We're looking at different features in different basins.
Our next cruise that starts next week on the Okeanos will be dedicated to the New England seamount chain. So, and luckily, Amanda and Jason will be back on shore and will be participating with us as telepresence remote scientists. So we'll have a lot of opportunity to compare what Jason and Amanda are seeing now in the Caribbean to what we're seeing in 2 weeks on the New England seamount chain.
They can get in their armchairs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
And Amanda, do you have anything to add on that one?
Well, it's interesting actually exploring the seamounts within the Caribbean. This region that we are in is near the Anegada Passage, which is an area where that connects the Atlantic Ocean to the Caribbean. So this region may be an important area for the corals that we're seeing in the Atlantic Ocean to potentially get transferred or moved through larval dispersal into the Caribbean and vice versa. Ultimately, through the work that we're doing on the seamounts, we'll be able to get a better understanding of how related the species are that we're finding in the seamounts here in the Caribbean and how they compare to the Atlantic. Composition of corals and other animals, and basically obtain a better general understanding of how seamounts serve as potential stepping stones for different species. In addition, just an anecdote, I participated in the Okeanos Explorer mission last year, and we explored Nautilus seamount, which is one of the New England seamounts, one of the least explored of the New England seamount chain. And I was really, I'm impressed by what we've been seeing thus far in the Caribbean. We've seen some similar groups of organisms down here in the Caribbean, but also I'm finding that we're seeing fewer fishes and fewer other species of corals. And I'm curious what that's all about. So when we go home and review the data and gain a better understanding of the environment, we'll be able to at least develop some ideas as to why we're seeing different patterns in the communities and potentially lower abundance of organisms here overall.
That's fascinating. Great questions. Yes. You're good with that. Okay. So I know that we've been talking about the technological advances. I'm just amazed by the cooperation and the long distance evaluation of what you're seeing. And because of those advances, not only can other scientists see what you're doing here at the aquarium, we can follow, and so can people at home. And in fact, the live stream, which I was watching earlier, is phenomenal on both of your sites. We have some video and some images from Okeanos that we want to show the viewers at home. And I'll do my best to tell you a little bit about what they're seeing, and then if we want Brian or Jamie to talk a little bit about those some significant discoveries, we can go ahead and do that. So first, it looks like we have a hydromedusa here that's coming up in just a second. You'll get to see that. Can you tell us about where that was found and how that came to be?
Yeah, so that was an animal we saw on Washington Canyon the other day. Beautiful thing. I don't know a whole lot about jellyfish. That's the beauty of and hydrobuses. The beauty of telepresence is we rely on people on shore like Mike Vecchione and Mike Ford, who specialize in water column organisms to really provide that kind of info. But that was a really beautiful organism that I personally have never seen before in a dive.
The great thing too about our technology is that as an organism floats by, and Jason talked about this with the grouper they saw in the Caribbean, we're agile enough technically to be able to zoom in on an organism floating by, to zoom in on it, see it in great detail, and if necessary, follow it for a while. And I think that allows our experts at home, if they're not on the ship, to take a good look in detail, help us with identifications, help us in understanding what the relationship of that organism is with the ecosystem we're looking at.
That's great. We have a few more images we're going to be scrolling through. We have a rhino, I'm going to say it wrong, rhino chimera. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yep, that's right.
And of course we have the adorable and very important Dumbo octopus. We also have a picture of that bobtail squid that nestled into the sand. Right now we're seeing the video of the hydromedusa. But these are some significant discoveries, and we did have a question about whether or not using an ROV presents any problems in discovering those sea creatures. You know, are they skitterish?
You know, we've seen evidence for organisms that are curious. We've seen evidence for organisms that are drawn to our lights. We've seen evidence for organisms that are confused by our lights. We saw a lot of squid schools above 500 meters in these canyons. It was pretty clear, and we had this corroborated by some of the experts we were dealing with, that the eyes in squids can be confused by bright lights. And we also have organisms that just plain hide. We had red crabs that were willing to take on a 9,200-pound ROV with no apparent fear at all. So we see the entire spectrum of behavior, and it's fascinating to watch.
That's great. I also know that since we have already seen these amazing discoveries in just weeks, months, and years, it gives us great promise for what the future of ocean exploration could hold. And I'm just wondering, from both of you, both teams, how can we at the National Aquarium and everybody who's watching ensure the future of ocean exploration continues to be realized?
Getting people about what they're seeing and what we're doing. I don't think any of us started out doing this. It's something that we've been for years, trying to bring what we do already to everyone else, and so they get to see the excitement and the goofiness sometimes of the work that we do. It's hard sometimes to share our findings with the general public in an easy way, and this really gives a very clear sort of understanding of how discoveries are made and what we find as we go along, and really I think shows how the scientific and exploration process works, that we don't always know the answers, that we end up with a lot of questions, and that there's so much more to do, and and getting that message out to people, the public, to kids who are thinking about this as a career. That's all great.
I think that a picture is worth 1,000 words, and I'd say that video is probably worth 1,000,000 in terms of communicating how excited, how passionate we are about the science we're doing. And I've seen that passion transferred over to the citizen scientists on the shore side. They've been really enthusiastic about the excitement findings that we've made thus far and the work we've been doing offshore. And I'm thrilled that they're able to see what we see firsthand and comment on it and hear our enthusiasm. And I'm hoping that that inspires, you know, the next several generations of marine scientists to come.
Yeah, I would say participation is one of the biggest things the public can do to guarantee the future of ocean exploration and promote it. Awareness. Tell your friends. Tell your congressmen. Support it through your participation, viewing the feeds, doing citizen science. And without the education and without people in the general public caring, we can't do our job.
Yeah, and I think Nautilus does a great job of reaching out to young people. I think the Okeanos is doing a great job both through its web portal and right here on the ship training young engineers because the technology that we deploy is extraordinarily sophisticated, complicated, and expensive. And without the next generation of engineers, in addition to the next generation of scientists, and Amanda is dead right, it's all about passion. And that passion is primarily residing in the young people that I see on the web portals and on the decks of these ships. And I want to see that continue. I've been going to sea for 40 years. We're still passionate about it, but the age of exploration is not over. And that we want to communicate that to the young people that are going to take our places.
That's here at the aquarium, we're going to try and help you do that by talking to all the guests here and using our Facebook, our Twitter, all of the social media that we have at our fingertips. So for those of you who are listening and are just getting a taste of how exciting this is, please feel free to follow us at the National Aquarium, follow Okeanos, or follow Nautilus, or all of us, so you can be one of the first on your block to find out about the new discoveries, the new animals, the plants, and what's really going on underneath the surface of the water, which of course we all rely on for our survival. We do have a few more questions. I think we have a few minutes, so I'm going to toss those out to you all. I have a question about discomfort with the severe pressure and depths that you might experience. I know you're not always diving, so some of the work's with ROVs, but can you talk about severe pressure when you are diving?
I want to say before I answer that, because I was a scuba diver for years, but the great thing about telepresence and the technology we use is that those ROVs don't feel any discomfort at great pressure, and they don't care about the temperature. They don't care about eating. They can go 24 hours a day. That's one of the great advantages. I started out as a scuba diver at Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution. It's very discomforting when you're in cold water, when you have to work long hours underwater. And it's one of the great things that motivated Bob Ballard to begin to use remotely operated vehicles rather than going down himself. So I think the moral of the story is scuba diving is a wonderful tool, but you just see the upper skin of the ocean scuba diving. We can see now full ocean depths with the kinds of technology we're deploying, and that's the bottom line. That's what we ought to be doing.
Yeah, I've used different gear, instruments, platforms, submersible dives down to 2,700, basically at hydrothermal vents in the Wanapika Ridge. So submersibles, each type of platform provides their own benefits, and it's incredible what technology is available at our fingertips in order for us to explore and investigate the seafloor.
I think you answered this question we just got, but I'll put it out to you. If money were no object, would ROVs still be the choice for ocean exploration, or would you always want to have a way to send humans down to the same depth?
I'll let Nautilus take that one first.
I think Amanda just mentioned it, that the different tools, the submersibles, the ROVs, the AUVs, the whole range of tools coming online all have their benefits, and they're all useful for a number of different investigations. So I don't think it's an either or. I think everyone realizes that you need to use the best, and that's really why there's such investment in.
I have another question for either of you, for anyone. How important do you feel ocean exploration is to ocean conservation?
Well, I think the question there is, how do you ever work to conserve something you don't know or don't understand? A great example of that is the work that we've done in the last couple of years, locating potential methane seeps along the East Coast. 2 years ago, we didn't know more than 1 or 2 of these natural methane seeps existed on the entire eastern seaboard of the United States, and the Okeanos explorers discovered over 600. And so, until just a year ago, we didn't even know we had an entire ecosystem up and down the entire east coast of the United States, just 100 miles offshore or less, that needed to be conserved, preserved, and managed properly. So until you go out and see what's there, there's no way you can effectively manage it or put conservation measures in place.
And I'll just add that I think it's actually that now federal agencies, state agencies, and the public are beginning to recognize that the kind of observations we make, the kind of samples that the Nautilus takes, these help us understand what is there, or as Amanda just said, in the Caribbean, why something isn't there. The differences between ocean basins are as important as the similarities. We can't figure out those differences as well as the similarities. We simply can't make informed decisions about how to live with the oceans. And as you yourself said, Heather, our survival absolutely depends on it.
And any word from the Nautilus on this?
Yeah. Well, I definitely have to echo what Jamie said. In order for us to conserve and manage these deep sea resources, we have to know what's there. And as you mentioned, Heather, at the beginning of this discussion, we only have really started to hit the surface in terms of understanding what's on the seafloor, what organisms reside there, and what controls them, what influences their environment. And so we're only at the cusp of understanding what that is. And in order for us to better conserve and manage those resources, we have to know who's there. And that's basically what we're up to.
Well, I can say from all of us who are on the dry side, who consider ourselves explorers and just supporters of your work, I just want to say thank you. We are always excited to talk to
No.
We wish we were in the Caribbean, but we're going to be in Baltimore.
Well, we like it here. We're happy to be here ourselves, but appreciate you all joining us.
We'll see you all in Baltimore, a lot of you, and we look forward to having you at the ship and showing you the technology and having you meet some of the players.
Yeah, thank you, Heather, because without educators like you and institutions like the National Aquarium, we really couldn't teach people and get the public involved in what we're doing and spread the word for ocean exploration. So we really appreciate the National Aquarium hosting this and providing that conduit to share our work and how we operate.
Yeah, definitely check out nautiluslive.org. We have some new images from our dives that we've just conducted at Conrad and Dog Seamounts, and we'll have some more great video coming up. So stay tuned.
And same, you can watch what we're doing live next week when we head out to the Seamounts on oceanexplorer.noaa.gov. So thanks, everybody. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks.
how'd that go?
Bye.